Today's Gospel and reading from Acts are in some ways parallel and in some ways disjoint. The Gospel features a man who has never been able to see at all. The story in Acts features a woman who can see what others cannot. Jesus gives the blind man sight. Paul robs the slave girl of her visions. In both cases, exception is taken to the miracle. Jesus and Paul are both identified as nonconformists and accused of impiety. Jesus of Sabbath breaking, and Paul of promoting behaviour unbefitting any decent Roman. Jesus warns of the coming of darkness. But when night falls on the imprisoned apostle, it presages liberation for Paul and salvation for his jailer. In the Gospel, Jesus first rejects his disciples' premise that suffering is always, or at least sometimes, divine retribution for sin. He says that the man's blindness is a pretext for revelation. Jesus then tells his disciples that he and they had better get on with God's business, as they have limited time before the night comes, by which I suppose Jesus meant his arrest, passion and death. Perhaps he said this as a rebuke to their interest in abstract theological speculation, or else their desire to attribute blame. Perhaps he meant, we've no time for theorizing, our mission is urgent. Jesus then makes one of his I am claims to divinity, saying, I am the light of the world. This claim is what motivates the opening of John's Gospel, where, as we heard on Easter Sunday, it is written of Jesus, the true light that enlightens every man was coming into the world. In the context of his encounter with the blind man, Jesus seems to mean to say that it is only through knowing me that anyone can come to perceive the ultimate nature of reality, the Logos. Why does Jesus make clay with his saliva? I think this is crucial. In the Genesis account of the creation of humanity, the first human is made of clay, and the very word Adam seems to mean thing of clay. Hence, I think that Jesus is enacting the making of replacement eyes out of clay for the blind man. If so, then this is a doubling down on his claim to be God. For, as it was God that first made Adam from mud, any agent that makes living flesh out of mud must therefore be God. When the man is cured, this is taken to be so remarkable as to be unbelievable, and even folk who knew him well doubted that he was the man whom he seemed to be. The religious authorities were still less inclined to believe that a miracle had happened. They were downright hostile. Jesus does not behave in the way that they would want a rabbi or prophet to behave. He is altogether too independent of their strictures, conflicts with their mores, and is also altogether non-canonical and rebellious. Nevertheless, although the congenitally blind man, who now can see, doesn't know where Jesus is, he is certain that Jesus is a man of God. Unlike the paralytic of last week's Gospel, he is willing to contradict and defy the authorities who are intent on condemning Jesus, and who have already determined to excommunicate anyone who professes faith in him. Echoing his statement of innocent ignorance, the rabbinic authorities say of Jesus to the man born blind, we do not know where he comes from. This the man takes as an admission of radical incompetence, and he proceeds to upbraid them bravely, even recklessly, with what he takes to be the simple truth. Never since the world began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. The authorities do not like being admonished by an unqualified upstart, and so they excommunicate him. As with the paralytic of last Sunday's Gospel, Jesus makes sure to meet up with the man he has cured. This encounter is altogether more positive than the previous one, however. Jesus invites him to believe in the Son of Man, a messianic title. And when Jesus makes explicit his claim to be the Messiah, the man professes faith without any reserve or hesitation. Jesus then summarises the whole business of this acted-out parable by miracle by declaring, "I am here to disclose the truth, so that the blind might see and the sighted be blinded." Some Pharisees suspect that Jesus is implicitly criticising their kind of religiosity. Perhaps they are even thinking that he might have a point after all. Perhaps he will alleviate the spiritual blindness which they are beginning to suspect they may suffer from. Jesus responds by making the state of play clear to them. If they insist that they are sighted, their guilt remains. Only if they acknowledge that they are blind and desire to see can they be acquitted and their eyes be opened. So what should we take from this gospel? 1. Jesus claims to be God and backs up his claim by an astounding miracle. We should be open to miracles in our lives and not be militantly sceptical when they occur. 2. We should be willing to defy religious authorities, including bishops and popes, that show themselves to be myopic when it comes to the urgent business of the gospel. We should be reckless in denouncing them and be willing to take the consequences. 3. We should be acutely aware of our own blindness. As humans, we do not have 20/20 spiritual vision. We should not speak or act as if we are certain that our ideas are spot on or that our lives are spotless. If we admit, at least in principle, if not in particular, to our sinfulness, to our frailty, foolishness, fecklessness and fallibility, then we can have hope that God will enlighten our darkness. In as far as we maintain that we are righteous and spiritual, or at least okay or good enough, then there is no hope for us at all. Thank God that the only begotten came into the world not to gather in the righteous, but to call sinners to repentance. Let us strive to answer that call each and every day unto our last. Along with the man born blind, let us proclaim, "Lord, I believe,